from Hershey. Jordan and I went to Penn State, and just essentially here to kind of explain what the bridge is. A lot of people kind of caught some buzz of what the bridge is and kind of seen the name around. And what we are is a development company. You know, we go on to acquire old properties, old schools, warehouses, malls, and then we transform it into an eco-village. The next question is, what is an eco-village? Well, an eco-village is exactly as it sounds. It's a village that is eco-sustainable. So solar panels, water collection, but we'll have urban agriculture, office spaces, commercial retail, education, innovation centers, as well as some entertainment areas. So what that is work, eat, live, learn, play. It's a mixed-use development, being able to do all those things in one place. The sustainability aspect comes in that eat portion. It's creating urban indoor agriculture that's fully sustainable. So like I said, solar panels, water collection is a bio-waste food digester. So we're actually able to bring in food waste from outside sources to convert that into energy for the buildings as well as nutrients for the greenhouses. So tons of food will come out of there. You're able to actually produce one model that we ran for William Penn in 2.5 acres of greenhouses that's capable of feeding 250,000 people. So obviously way more people than what's here, but that just shows the yields that can come from such a program and a process. So I'll let my guys kind of talk. If you have questions for them or for me, we'll kind of get into the nitty gritty of it if you got some specific questions.
So why did you guys decide to do this? Why is it important?
So ultimately, at the end of the day, as Gary had mentioned, we all went to Mount Hershey. If you do or if you don't know much about this school, it is, for lack of better words, families below the poverty line. I personally am from Cambridge, Massachusetts. My grandmother adopted me and my brothers at the age of 4 years old. So I personally remember what it was like to have to take the bus to go and get food, just to get to the nearest grocery store, to have to take the cab by any means necessary, essentially. But with this, we use a hashtag all the time, let's build. We're focused on building communities, not just from a physical or literal sense, but by bettering the people within the area. That Allison Hill needs something different than what Uptown needs something different than what Midtown needs. Harrisburg is so important because this is now my home. This is Gary's home. This is Desmond's home. This is Jordan's home. This is our home. We feel we're not reinventing the wheel. You go to other places, there are tons of live, eat, work, play spaces on the West Coast, in Massachusetts, in New York. Why not here? Why not in the state capital? This is something that we need and people are hungry for, people are excited for. So we're excited about the buzz, and that essentially is why Harrisburg. If you've looked at our website, you've seen pending locations. We've told them, no, Harrisburg's first. We have to take care of home. Harrisburg's a food desert. Food desert is where you have to travel more than 1 mile to get to the grocery store. That's Pine Village. The people of town, there's the CVS's, the dollar stores, the Dollar Generals. So like with the aquaculture and the fresh food and fresh produce, we'll be able to go and provide for our communities. We'll have the co-working spaces where you can come in and you can go and be a member of the bridge and come in and work. Where humans are entrepreneurial by nature. So to come in and be a part of something great. Then we'll also have the play space. So we had a great meeting yesterday where we presented, if you're familiar with the Orange for Owen Foundation. Proceeds from the play will be going to the Orange for Owen Foundation, percentage of the proceeds. But we need something to stimulate your mind. So we're using these live hashtags to gather data. We love for people to say, hey, I put that hashtag in there. I said, hey, I wanted to have a meditation room, or I wanted to have a dance studio. You see that when you walk into the bridge, because that's a fabric of the community. So
what are the plans specifically for the building part?
For this building specifically, we're still in the process of getting our surveys done and getting all the architectural research done, just to see what the feasibility of actually doing in this location is. As you see it of our plans on our board, we had originally been targeting William Penn. Now this isn't specific to any location, it's kind of an idea or a model, if you will, that can be applied to any location. As Corey said, each community needs something different. So in terms of this building, like I said, we're still getting our site surveys back to see what the environmental hazards are, to be able to process that and get everything situated. And then we'll move forward with getting local architects and engineers in, especially ones that graduated from this school. You guys know the building best, and we would like, input any experts that are out there that are in that realm. This is about collaboration. So everyone from the community bringing their expertise, bringing their resources in. Like this building has been sitting here as well as William Penn that we're also pursuing. But we can turn them into, like I said, eco-villages, things that can help the community, but that takes everyone in the community, right? We don't need to be standoffish, from one area to the next area and draw lines in the sand. We get a lot more done when we work together. As Corey said, humans are social beings. So let's bring that village mentality back and create synergy and see where we get as a community. Right, Harrisburg as the capital of Pennsylvania doesn't need to be where it's at, especially in the education sense, right? And that comes directly from property values, home ownership, right? So we're supplementing that, financial literacy classes, teaching people how to own their homes and have more pride in their community. And starting here, right? This is a center of education, of learning, of safety, and the food that's coming out of it too. And I like to say that it's not about the products that are coming out, it's the outstanding people that come out of the bridge, right? You're educated, you're empowered. You feel like you can make a contribution to society. So in terms of your question for this specific building, that's still in the process, right? So we're looking, as Corey said too, with community involvement, right? This isn't like, here, we're gonna bring this to you. This is, hey, look, we have a building now, like we as a community, let's turn it into something that we all need, right? Let's put the amenities, let's put the workshops that we need here. Let's work together to make our city great, as it should be.
Hey Gary, I take it, and I'm gathering like the idea isn't necessarily to have all those different things you mentioned in this location or any one location, or does the concept actually involve all of those things at each site?
No, it does involve all those things at one site, and the main pillar that we're on is sustainability. But the biggest way to be sustainable is not to be driving places. So in terms of mixed-use development, work, eat, live, learn, play. There's not anything else you're usually doing throughout the day. So if you do that all on site and be productive, move to different areas and be on site, that lowers that emissions. So the scheme of it, so what you see at William Penn, right, there's a lot of greenhouse there. Well, there's not a lot of space here to be doing that, right? So we'll utilize maybe a smaller version of what that greenhouse is, use it as an education center, almost a research pilot, so that we can get the information and then make that bigger in a commercial scale. So to answer your question, work, eat, live, learn, play, that will be a small aspect, at least at every location, because that's kind of the point of it, is bringing that village mentality back. It's not just creating affordable housing and office space or housing with retail. Like, this is a different animal. Like that urban agriculture, that's the real money maker and creator of sustainability. So that has to be incorporated into it.
So, would you lease this building or buy it? And then also, obviously you mentioned there's tons of steps in making all of this change. What timeline are you hoping for?
So, each building is a little bit different. Obviously, for this building, we're blessed and able to get a lease. With if we negotiate, we have an option to buy. Depending on how the bridge goes and everything else goes, and we would love to, be able to buy this and have the community be a part of it. This is something that will be here and for the community. So we would like, create a community real estate fund. So like anybody out there that has, $500, we're able to even invest in a piece of this property too and have some ownership in it. So that's a part of it. In terms of the construction timeline, like I said, we're still getting our surveys done, the architectural plans, and now we have to have a better answer of what that timeline is like. That also depends on zoning, permitting, the village, the city working with us too, allowing things to progress faster than what they normally do. Weather is obviously, an issue. I like to say that people need help yesterday. So, we're not gonna lie, this is constantly moving, constantly doing our research and getting all of our deliverables in together. In my eyes, I would love, with how the building is, it's in fantastic condition. And we don't have to knock down walls. In terms of a co-working space or a maker space, you get Wi-Fi in here, and in reality, this can be used already. So again, it's just making sure that environmentally people can be in here safely. The city allows us to allow people in here. And if we can, we'll get people in here before it's even renovated. So again, it establishes a sense of safety and security in an area of education too. Right? It doesn't need to be up and running. Even while we're renovating on one half, you can be on one half. And so again, that's all dependent on what the city allows. And so we're in negotiations with all those things. So the sooner we can get it done, the better. First half of next year, we'd like to get the co-working space and everything up and running, at least allow people to start using the space. Again, depending on what the city allows. The urban agriculture site, that will depend on, again, different permits and if we're allowed to get certain things done, so that's just that entire process. But yeah, so I mean, it would be nice to get everything going by next year. We're like to start construction next year. Then it just kind of depends on what that phase construction at that point looks like. Currently, we're kind of in our pre-development stage of getting all those surveys and everything done. Yeah, it's like I said, now we have access to a building, so let's, everyone in the community has to all work together to get this thing to where it needs to be.
Yeah, do you have an estimate on what the price tag would be to say, like, do the things that you envision? Like here, what's, it sounds like it would cost a lot of money. Do you have an estimate?
No, that's also, again, that would depend on what the community's like. Hey, we want, 3 meditation rooms. All right, well, architecture, let's negotiate in 3 rooms and see what that price would be. So similar answer to what hers is, that's to be determined. I mean, shoot, you can say it could be, 10 million, 15 million, 100 million. I don't know at this point. But that's not really, that's not really a concern to me at this point. The building needs to be fixed, and if not us, then who, and if not now, then when. So whatever that price tag may be, if it happens to be $500 million, then I can guarantee you we'll raise $500 million.
Okay, you would raise it, because, yeah, that's what I was, you mentioned some big figures there. And, I mean, is the bridge, you said it's a development company. Is it, it's a for-profit company, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, it's not a non-profit. So, I mean, if it would be like 15 million or even way more than that, which you said is a possibility, where would the money come from?
Well, I haven't had a lot of friends who are millionaires who also like to help their community. So instead of us doing football camps constantly, we decided to group together and help our communities in a different way. Put our money toward things that, one, bring us back money, but also helps our community.
And they would be investors.
They are, yes.
Yes.
And they have chosen to remain anonymous. They're already in, just to let you know.
What has led you guys to this point to start to undertake this sort of project?
Yeah,
And all 4 of you to come together to be a part of this?
Yeah, I'll start that off. So work, eat, live, learn, play. Those are all separate business models that I had to actually put together while playing and, through going through Penn State and everything. And I kind of saw the common thread of sustainability and community involvement. And like I said, those are kind of developed as little business plans here and there. They didn't capitalize on anything. And then Nipsey Hussle passed away March 31st. And I kind of caught wind of his story and what he was doing. And it really just inspired me to reach out to Corey, like, bro, we have the ability to really make change in this world. Like, let's get on it. So I was kind of talking to him about the influence of these different branches, and we didn't have a name. It was just literally these separate companies. They all had their individual names, and we're talking. And one of the main things we wanted to do was create some type of bridge from Milton Hershey to the real world. Right? We have tons of resources at that school, but then leave and don't have them. So that co-working space, that maker space, was influenced directly from Milton Hershey, and that sprung it off. Like I said, Ned passed away March 31st. That conversation with Corey was April 4th or April 5th. And from there, it was like, all right, well, the bridge, that's got to be the name. So then I looked to see what thebridge.com. Oh, that's available? That domain's available? All right, I see. Let's do this thing, right? So we locked in, made the logo, started. I used the fact that I was an athlete to get into meetings with some of these experts, right? The engineers, the architects, the ones that have the intellectual property to do this type of thing. So got into meetings with them, and they loved, the passion for kind of what we were doing and where we were trying to do it. So they joined our team, right? So these guys have done over 300 fully sustainable school buildings and office buildings around the world, right? This isn't some piping of us hoping to do things like this. Like Corey said, these things are already done around the country, especially on the West Coast. So from living in San Francisco and Seattle, I was exposed to these things. So those are the guys that I grabbed in, right? They have this intellectual property. They're the type of guys who will come in and train the local architects and engineers, because this will become a living building, and these people that will be here to be able to maintain those systems. So that's part of it too, bringing in some of those outside experts in to have some weight for what we're doing.
Well, talking about bridging the, the creative spaces with the community involvement, can you speak to this being a place for savings for families and children, also bringing back the cultural integrity of community excellence?
Yeah. So village, we often hear it takes a village. Well, this is from top to bottom, right? There's studies out there that show that kids being involved with elders actually helps the lifespan of both of them. It helps the development of the children and allows the health of the elders to get better. But I think that as a society, we've kind of gotten sectioned off, and that's hindered us. But like I said before, humans are social beings, so the more we can come together, the better. Offering spaces for kids to come in and see adults being productive and being owners of things and working toward being productive and sustainable, that transcends the generations. And now we start to break the system of oppression, or we start to create empowerment within individuals. So that is an extreme important thing to us, is having kids, middle-aged people and adults being in one location and being productive together. That that village mentality needs to come back. You know, we as humans, that's where we've seen our greatest success through history, is our ability to create civilizations by working together. So why not here?
Gary, you mentioned, in response to one of my earlier questions, you mentioned the investors. But are you also, is this contingent on also getting some kind of investment from the community?
Contingent on no, but we would like that. Just not that it needs to happen, but in terms of ownership, like I said, this isn't about like, you know, we're bringing something to you or, you know, part of it, as the bridge develops, the property value is going to go up. So I want the community to catch that value too, right? So I mean, if you can invest, you can invest. If you can't, it's not, you know, it's, like I said, it's about collaboration. Like there's obviously people out there that have tons of money in this area. So if you, come invest. Like, you know, this building sits here, we drive past it quite often. So instead of walking, you know, driving past, walking past and talking ill about it, let's all work together. Let's all put our money together, right? Group economics is a real thing. I think us as a community, especially in Harrisburg, we can accomplish that. So I guess the short answer would be yes, we'd like the community to invest. Now, do we absolutely need the community to invest to get this done? No, but it definitely does.
Hey, let's take that a little further, because as you mentioned, there's lots of wealthy individuals around here. They often invest or contribute to good causes. And then you also have like state grants, and sometimes the city gets behind things. Is that all, are those like the possibilities too?
Yes, so this is a public-private partnership, right? It's gonna take private investors, public funding from the government, obviously for the affordable housing, work-class housing, getting grants for that, the sustainability aspect of it, protecting the environment, there's grants for that. So getting teams in that know how to write grants and apply for those grants, you know, we're looking for people like that as well. We have no expertise in that, but the thing that we're doing, we've already caught wind that we can get a lot of grants for that. So public money, private money, community money, it's a public-private partnership. So we're looking for grants, like I said, we've got our private investors, we've got corporations that have institutional money that are looking to invest as well. They've got lots of money that they need to pump back into communities too. So we're putting pressure on them too. And we've already been in meetings with those type of people. Jordan's done a great job, especially in that local area, of being able to have meetings and talk to people, kind of what the mission is. But actually, I'll let him speak on that.
For me, being a hometown kid, just like all these guys, I'm the only outsider, really. I graduated from Stilton. I grew up as these guys being my rival. You know, for Gary, I played against him since I've been 14 years old. And our story kind of gets even deeper as we get older, as we go to Penn State together. And we're there for 4 years, and ironically, we end up in Seattle together playing professional football. I don't think that's probably ever happened to a group of guys here in Harrisburg, let alone, you know, really anywhere. So I really think it's fate, you know, that I'm living here in Harrisburg. I'm able to be here on the ground, you know, for the day in, day out. And if need, you know, I'm gonna fall away for everything. This the change that, you know, this city needs is one I'm proud to back. I'm really proud of. It's something that I think as a whole everybody's kind of looking for. You know, as professional athletes, I think sometimes we fight against each other and want to do good, but don't communicate what we're actually trying to get accomplished. And you know, for guys like me and Gary, you know, we've used football as a pillar for our life. We've taken every opportunity that it's given us and taken advantage of it. We didn't let it, you know, happen vice versa with football. You know, sometimes take advantage of the players. You know, it's going to be something very special and unique for this town. Like they said, the West Coast has this, you know, and we're not recreating the wheel. It is just the same thing. It's something that we've been exposed to, a different culture that we've been able to live. Something that, you know, I know for me personally, when I was living in Seattle, I would look and see these things and I'm like, this is perfect for where I live and where I grew up. How come we don't have it? And I was looking for an answer, you know. And when Corey and Gary kind of reached out to me and let me know, before we had a meeting, I probably already made my mind up, and no matter where the project was, and wanted to be able to be involved in help. Because I think when we're all together, just like Gary said, we're so much stronger. For all the problems that we do have, I think if we sit our pride aside and ask for help and help each other, the projects and the things we want will be done.
What can community members do if they want to get involved?
Well, first things first would be, I'm community chief, so you can reach out to me, you know, and we're a very open book. So we want to hear the input. You know, like they've said, each facility that we have, we want to accommodate the area that we're in. So please don't hesitate to reach out to me. It does not matter that I was a professional player. There's no status in this. You know, just like I said, you have to sit your pride aside, and I'm able to talk about anything. You know, it goes back to childhood. You know, fundamentals. You know, don't be afraid to ask a question. We're here to help, and that's the reason we want to be here.
So you can reach out to us individually, you know, via social media, but we've also got an email, volunteer@thebridgehbg.com. Volunteer@thebridgehbg. You know, any experts out there, and any way anybody in the community, you don't have to be an expert. You just want to lend your hand to help pick up some trash. You know, just let us know. Hit us at that volunteer email, or hit us up personally, and we'll definitely get you involved.
And to piggyback on that point, we have what are called construction meetings. Now they've been to a smaller scale. Jordan saw it on my calendar and was like, we're meeting with construction people. I'm like, no, I like to call these, we say let's build, so I think it's a fun spin on it. So Jordan and I are gonna go ahead and plan over January and February to coordinate some community construction meetings. So more of like some open panel type discussions to get some questions answered, as well as for us to ask all the questions that we'd like to ask, because that's more important for the community to be able to see that this is all going to be, I can't stress it enough, it sounds redundant and I sound like a broken record, but we're very community-based, and people are generally confused as to how we're for-profit, but we're for-profit with non-profit values, essentially because of everything that our life experiences have brought us through and to where we are in life to kind of bring us to this point.
Gary, and Jordan said it when you say you're not reinventing the wheel, but Gary, can you reiterate again that you're working with companies that have experience in this? You're working with people in Seattle, in Colorado. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yep, so Mark Viewer of 2020 Engineering is an engineering firm based out of Bellingham, Washington. Like I said, they've worked on over 300 sustainable projects, schools, and office buildings as well. Actually, the Bullet Center, everyone's kind of heard of LEED, like LEED Platinum and stuff. Well, there's a next step now. There's living buildings, which is another qualification of just full sustainability. And our engineer is actually on the board and was the main engineer for that project. The Bullet Center is in Seattle. Benjamin Brandt is based out of Denver, and he's actually working with Ambassador Andrew J. Young down in Atlanta for a duckweed farm, if you will, which is just urban agriculture to develop algae. And Henning Gatz, he's got a bunch of companies up in Canada and also around the country. Also a Bellingham-based company, Aquacare, and they've done a bunch of the fish. So we're growing fish as well, like I said. So they've done projects throughout the country, throughout the world, fully contracted out. He was just showing me the other day a bunch of his tubes and tanks around the. I was like, bro, that's enough. I get it. So we, you know, like I said, make sure we always say that we're assembling vendors, right? And that Marvel universe is constantly expanding. So you know, everyone's got their different skills and their different talents. So bringing in those guys, those experts, so that you know, this isn't just a dream. Like I said, these are guys that have done it, and it's bringing in now the funding, the public-private partnerships, you know, the contractors, you know, creating those local jobs. That's extremely important too to stimulate the economy. And then this building itself, the other buildings that become the bridge, those are the centers for that production. I have an idea, and we have an idea that if you take the bridge, that model, and you throw it in the middle of the Sahara Desert, a city should start to thrive. Right? It's producing that water, that food, that waste, it's education, it's creating jobs, and not just creating jobs, but creating people that create jobs. That's another thing that people don't often think about. Not just creating jobs, but the people that create the jobs, and educating them on creating corporations that are based on people and profit. You can make money and still help people, right? It's not some hard line between that. So that's the objective.
Yeah, you know, related to what Corey said about, you know, we're for-profit with non-profit values. I mean, I'm wondering, 3 of you went to the Milton Hershey School. I mean, you know, like knowledge of mission, how the whole thing came to be. I mean, how much does that have any effect on, you know, your attitude? Or
Milton Hershey did it first. work, eat, live, learn, play in one area. You know, he made the town of Hershey for his employees. He didn't want them to have to leave to go do anything else. The entertainment's there with Hershey Park, Hershey Gardens, obviously the school, the education side of it. He literally laid the foundation for exactly what you see with the bridges. It's what we all grew up in, and it just made so much sense. And then you get into the real world, and you don't see it, and you're confused. Like, why isn't this happening? We've got the technology and the ability to come together, but why haven't we? So yeah, Milton Hershey is an extreme influence of that and those morals. And then the philanthropy side of it too, you know, going to Penn State with Jordan and I and seeing what Joe Pod did for the community, buying libraries. He understood the education side of it too. He cared less if we were good football players. He wanted to make sure we were going to class first and foremost and getting our education. And that, you know, those things are extreme pillars in what the bridge is, that education aspect. Not education in terms of just children. We're not creating a charter school. This is about educating our culture and our community from top to bottom. So, you know, coming from Milton Hershey, having that, seeing what Joe Pod did for our community and what he gave back and what his, you know, pillars were, has definitely been an influence of what we've all brought to what the bridge is.